Do you ever find that even though you study Japanese relentlessly, when it comes time to actually speak, you can't seem to put together a single sentence? Well, if it sounds like you, then I've got bad news. You probably suck at Japanese. Over the last 2 years I've been living in Japan, that's been the exact problem I've been solving. And in this video, I'm going to teach you 6 secrets I've learned to help you speak like you're fluent. When you're done with this video, you're going to be able to speak Japanese confidently, make friends using only Japanese, and even be able to think in Japanese. And stick around for the end where I show you the secret that'll take your Japanese from little baby level all the way to sounding completely natural. The first step to improving your Japanese is going to be following the 80-20 rule. What is that, you may ask? Imagine you're setting up a birthday party. You got a whole bunch of stuff to do. You got to invite friends, food, games, venue. All this stuff needs to be set up. But you only got time to do one of those things. So what's the one thing you're going to do to make sure everyone has the most fun? You got to invite friends, of course. Even if you don't have all the other things, if your friends are there, then you can all entertain yourselves somehow, right? The 80-20 rule really just says that with most things in life, you're going to get 80% of your results from only 20% of your efforts. And Japanese is the same way. 80% of fluency is going to come from only about 20% of your efforts. Pick up a copy of Genki 1 and 2, and the 1,500 or so words in there are going to take you surprisingly far. So, you've learned your 1,500 words. Now what? Well, that brings us to the next way we're going to sound more fluent through the use of something called backchanneling. Based on the name backchanneling, see how many times you can spot it in this clip. And then I'm going to explain backchanneling, and then we'll go over the answers afterwards. ねえ、マリー。東京ディズニーランドで
行く？
違う。スペースマウンテンは今週の水曜日に閉まった。知
ってる。閉まった。
あ、知ってる？
今年の夏行った時にクローズって書いてたじゃん。
そうか。知らなかった。なんで？2027年まで。
新しくリニューアル。
なるほど。Alright. How many times did you catch? Put your answer in the comments. Backchanneling is going to be the use of filler words such as so, and it's also going to be responses to the speaker while they're speaking to show that you're listening. In Japanese, this is super common, but in English, not so much. If you were to do this in English, it might sound a little annoying, actually. ねえ、マリー。東京ディズニーランドで
行く？
違う。スペースマウンテンは今週の水曜日に閉まった。知ってる。閉まった。あ、知ってる？
今年の夏行った時にクローズって書いてたじゃん。
そうか。知らなかった。なんで？2027年まで。
新しくリニューアル。
なるほど。Alright, did you catch them all this time? Let me know in the comments. Using filler words like these can actually even buy you time in case you can't quite remember a word that you're struggling with or something, or if you're like me and you just never know what to say even in your native language. Okay, let me explain. Coming to Japan, you are sure to encounter a lot of people who drink a lot. There's a huge drinking culture here, and that does not exclude students. Among students learning Japanese here, you will find a large portion of them saying they speak way better when they're drunk. Weird. Alcohol makes it so you can't think straight. How would it improve your Japanese? There must be something about it that just makes the language harder, right? Well, not really, actually. Think back to the last time you messed up when talking. Not in Japanese, but in your native language. You know, did you stop and putt around for a minute and beat yourself up for messing up a word? No, you didn't. I mean, unless you were in a speech contest, I guess, then I could understand. But you definitely didn't. You realized your mistake, corrected it, and got on with your conversation. What about when you blanked on a word? You didn't give up on your sentence, did you? No, you found a way to get around your mental block and find a different way to describe it. I bet you even used one of the words that I mentioned in the last point, right? So why is Japanese any different? Put simply, it's just because you're thinking too much. You know, you make one mistake, and then you think about that, and then it snowballs because you're thinking about that makes you make another mistake, and then another, and more and more and more. But if you're at a bar or something, you know, you're not necessarily thinking about that kind of thing. You start to lose a little bit of that sense of self-awareness because you're too busy having a good time, and you just focus on just powering through the conversation because it's fun. Babies actually do the exact same thing, except without the use of alcohol. Power through the sentences, they don't even care. I mean, it's incoherent for the first however long, but they don't care what anyone thinks. And guess what? It works. This actually leads into our next point, because even if you just spit out words, you're gonna come across some mental blocks occasionally where you can't think of a word, or you don't know exactly what it is you're trying to say. Remember the last time you had a word stuck on the tip of your tongue? You were probably in a conversation with a friend and you were trying to describe something, and then suddenly you just forgot the word. Could have been the common name or a common place or whatever, and you just could not for the life of you come up with the name of that thing. You might have even been able to get the first sound or two out. Same thing happens in Japanese, and we get through it using a process called nominalization, which is really just describing the thing you're trying to say. And you can do it even if you're in a super early stage of your learning journey. Yeah, it's definitely a journey. There's a few of these words you can use to easily level up your Japanese, essentially by just describing the thing you're trying to say, even if you don't know the word for it. Using words like mono, koto, jotai, and tokoro. Nominalization is the key to getting through Japanese conversations and appearing fluent, even with a super limited vocabulary. And something I wish I knew when I started learning is that this will really help your confidence, because you'll realize that you can speak Japanese, even if it does sound a little clunky, but you'll realize you can get through the conversation using only Japanese. And that does wonders for your confidence. Good lord, my confidence didn't exist back then. Anyways, one thing that's going to help you with nominalization is synonyms. Synonyms are going to be your best friend when describing new things in Japanese. They're going to keep you thinking in Japanese, which is absolutely crucial. For instance, is it better to hear,
"Wow, this place is cute,"
or,
"Wow, this place is,
yeah, you don't want to sound like that guy. I'd say try to make sure you know at least one synonym for most of your adjectives. And now it's time for that secret I promised you guys at the beginning of the video. This secret is going to be what takes you Japanese from sounding like an infant, just grasping at whatever words they can think of, to full-fledged Japanese speaker. And that secret is practice. Specifically with a Japanese person, a native Japanese speaker. I'm serious, just get out there and do it. People who put things into practice get way better results than those who just sit there and absorb the information. Oh, yeah. Well, on the bright side, we have this handy dandy little tool I like to call the internet. Japanese people like to use the internet too. Shocking, I know. There's a variety of websites you can go to actually talk to Japanese people. For example, you can use sites like italki to get one-on-one lessons from native Japanese tutors. It's super easy to choose a teacher and schedule a lesson whenever you want. If you want to check it out and get $10 in credits after you make your first purchase, then I'll leave a link in the description below. Who knows? You might even make a friend along the way. Yeah, so speaking with a native Japanese speaker regularly is going to be hands down the biggest help when you're trying to learn Japanese, especially if they don't speak English, because it will force you to problem solve in Japanese, come up with solutions, and explain those solutions in Japanese. It's going to force you to try to process everything in Japanese and get you that much needed practice in thinking in Japanese. So, to summarize, study 20% of the most common words to get 80% of your conversations down. Use backchanneling to show you're listening, make conversation flow better, and even stall to buy some time. Find a way to relax when you speak. It's just going to save you stress, and you just go for it, mistakes and all. Use nominalization to get past mental block. Use synonyms so you don't stall and revert back to your native language. Find a Japanese person to speak with regularly on sites like italki, and subscribe. Helps out the channel a lot, especially if you like the video. Combine all of those things and you'll be speaking Japanese like you're native in no time. Thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, if you like learning, if you want your name on the wall here, or maybe over here, I haven't really decided yet. I left a link to my Patreon in the description box below. I'm working on getting some more benefits set up, but if you want that like coveted first name spot, then go ahead and claim that real quick. Now is the time to travel to Japan. The yen is super cheap and travel is easier than ever. Click here to check out my top tips on traveling to Japan on a budget, and I will see you all on the next one.